Hello and welcome to the Look Forward podcast, powered by the S&P Global Institute, the platform for enterprise thought leadership across S&P Global. I'm Aries Poon. I'm leading the analysis team for Asia Pacific and Latin America in the Market Intelligence division, and I will be your host today. Markets are moving faster, risks are shifting, and decision makers need foresight. In this podcast, we bring you expert perspectives from across S&P Global on the macroeconomic, market, energy, and technology forces shaping what comes next and helping you navigate uncertainty and look forward with confidence. Today, we are looking at a critical question. Can the rapid rise of AI coexist with sustainability, or is something else driving the energy shift? We'll explore how hyperscalers are powering AI growth, why renewables remain central, and what this means for energy security and geopolitics. And welcome to our guest, Tony Lenoir, our data center expert from the energy division. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hi, Aries. Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Okay, to start us off, how has the surge in AI demand reshaped the broader energy narrative?
Sure. Well, first, let me maybe preface my answer by saying that as analysts, I suppose we try to avoid making overly dramatic statements. But really, when it comes to the rise of AI and electricity demand from AI data centers, it's been a veritable paradigm shift for the power sector. Um, In the US, electricity demand stayed essentially flat in the last 20 years, leading up to the launch of ChatGPT in 2022. And by the way, that in and of itself is rather remarkable when you think about it, because in that interval, the US population grew nearly 18% and the US GDP more than doubled. So, really, this speaks to our efficiency gains as a society during that period. But now we've entered a new era, and US electricity consumption is anticipated to grow at a 3% compound annual growth rate in the next 5 years. For perspective, based on the most recent available sustainability report combined, Google, Meta, and Microsoft saw their annual energy consumption jump 140% between 2020 and 2024. Now, it's probably fair to say that the impact of AI compute had yet to be reflected in 2024. In other words, we have not seen anything yet, if you can believe it. And just for further context on this historical moment, I will just say that this whole AI sea change really kicked into higher gear as the power sector was experiencing a major push to decarbonize the grid. So, really, when you think about it, we are living a revolution within a revolution.
So even with policy changes and reduced incentives, why are renewables still seeing strong momentum?
Yeah, so for context, it's true that the one big, beautiful bill of July of 2025 accelerated the phase out of tax credits for renewables. And so when they expire, and indeed, if they do expire, that will be a new economic context for renewable developers. I'll just note that renewable tax credits have expired and been reinstated several times in the last 30 years. At any rate, in the meantime, corporate renewable procurement remains very strong. Based on our tracking of power purchase agreements, the top four US hyperscalers had contracted about 135 gigawatts of clean energy around the world as of February of this year. And that included about 112 gigawatts of solar and wind capacity. Historically, hyperscalers are those very large global cloud service providers that operate massive data centers. And the top four include Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft. And these companies continue to contract large amounts of clean energy capacity for several reasons. First, they remain publicly committed to their sustainability targets. Second, renewables have reached maturity and they are increasingly cost competitive. And last but not least, in the context of the global race to achieve AI dominance, speed to power is a major competitive advantage for solar and wind.
As we zoom in to the drivers of energy choices, is it really about sustainability or are there other priorities driving those choices?
Yeah, so as we just saw, speed to power is an important factor. And frankly, AI data centers are going after all the energy they can get. Also, when what we are seeing is that in the context of geopolitical tensions, carbon-free technologies, including renewable energy, provide a degree of autonomy and price stability on top of diversifying the energy mix. And in the end, regardless of motivation, whether you are pursuing renewable for energy independence or for sustainability reasons, well, the outcome is the same for sustainability. That is to say, the energy mix gets decarbonized. And, there are historical precedents. Well, at least I can think of one. I'm originally from France. In the 1970s, France famously embarked on a very ambitious plan to produce most of its electricity from nuclear generation, not for any particular ideological purposes at the time. They were simply focusing on decoupling electricity production from oil imports after the OPEC embargo of 1973. But when all is said and done, today they have one of the most decarbonized generation fleets in the world.
And you talk about climate goals, and there has been debate about whether AI expansion is compatible with climate goals or not. So, what does the evidence suggest so far?
Yes, so in principle, they are compatible. But we believe that if major AI stakeholders were forced to choose, well, achieving AI dominance would probably take precedence because of the broader geopolitical ramifications in terms of economic competitiveness, military capabilities, and more broadly, global influence. And in fact, some major big tech companies have been tempering expectations around their sustainability targets. For example, in its 2025 sustainability report, Google described its net zero goal by 2030 as a climate moonshot. It also said that AI related energy demand was making its future emissions trajectory more difficult to forecast. Microsoft, in its latest sustainability report, disclosed that total emissions had increased about 23% since 2020 due to several factors, including AI expansion. And I suppose we can assume that the other hyperscalers are facing the same types of challenges. Aside from the hyperscalers, also data from the 2025 S&P Global Corporate Sustainability Assessment shows that 35% of assessed companies with data center operations do not have a net zero commitment.
Let's take a look at the energy strategies evolving beyond renewables for now. So we're seeing diversification beyond solar and wind. So what other energy sources are also entering the mix?
Yes, so all sources of energy, and preferably clean sources of energy, are on the table, including geothermal and nuclear, for instance. In fact, the rapid rise of AI compute has led to a resurgence of nuclear energy. I'm sure you've heard about that. uh, Hyperscalers like nuclear for its high energy density, for its reliability, and because it is carbon free. In other words, the technology allows the hyperscalers to reconcile their massive energy needs with their decarbonization objectives. And unlike solar and wind energy, nuclear power is available around the clock. It's not dependent on weather or sunshine. Also, when a hyperscaler contracts energy with a nuclear power plant, it can secure large blocks of capacity in one fell swoop, We are talking about the type of volume that would require multiple deals with renewable energy providers. As of February of this year, the four hyperscalers we've talked about had contracted about 17 gigawatts of existing and new nuclear capacity, with most of the new capacity to be deployed by small modular reactor companies such as X Energy, which went public about 6 weeks ago, Terra Power, which was founded by Bill Gates, and Kairos Power. And most of that new nuclear energy capacity is expected to come online in the early 2030s. And when you think about it, 17 gigawatts contracted as of February of this year, that's quite a significant jump, because we're talking about starting from essentially zero just 2 years ago. That said, for the hyperscalers, solar and wind continue to overwhelmingly dominate procurement at about 83% of the total in February, give or take.
Like the push for clean energy, we've also seen a return to fossil fuels. So, what exactly is driving that?
Yes, in fact, 2025 was the year of the big gas power comeback. And again, here we get back to this notion that data center owners and operators are going after all the energy they can get. Have I mentioned that already? I think I have. Joking aside, that is really what's happening. And I suppose it's the reason why decarbonization goals and so forth are now being questioned. At any rate, to give you some perspective, in 2025, orders for gas turbines surged 165% year over year to reach 43 gigawatts. And that was the sector's highest level since 2001. And really, data center owners and power producers do like gas-fired power because it is reliable and scalable, and of course, it is dispatchable. And all of this is great in the context of the challenges posed by renewable intermittency. Adding to all this, gas power offers the ability to integrate carbon capture technology, which would make gas power plants a viable component in the overall transition to low carbon energy. And before we move on, let me just reiterate that this big gas power comeback is simply a reflection of this, all of the above approach we've discussed. Access to power is overriding other considerations. And really, all of these developments in terms of renewables, nuclear, gas-fired power, geothermal, well, they're simply a reflection of the magnitude of data center power demand.
In terms of the drivers shaping these strategies, how important are geopolitical risk and energy security in this calculus?
Yeah, that is a great question. And an increasingly important one in the context of the conflict in the Middle East, trade tensions, etc. And frankly, it's important to keep in mind that the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz in the last few months is the third major shock to the global energy system in about 6 years. It follows the COVID-19 disruptions of 2020 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. And in this environment, we argue that priorities have shifted for governments and in corporate boardrooms. Yes, sustainability considerations remain, but energy availability, access, affordability have become top of mind, really. And as we've seen, gas-fired power has made a strong comeback, and it offers many advantages. But from an energy security perspective, it has its drawbacks, really. It is vulnerable to supply chain disruptions, market fluctuations, and really outright supply and price shocks, as we saw when Russia invaded Ukraine, for instance. Technically, even nuclear is not completely immune to geopolitical tensions because the flow of uranium itself could be disrupted. In 2024, the owners and operators of US reactors imported over 92% of the uranium needed to operate the US fleet. That said, the difference is that commercial nuclear reactors resupply every 18 to 24 months on average. For renewables, it's different, especially when the components and materials going into a renewable power plant are sourced locally, because renewable energy can help hedge power consumption against the volatility of international markets. They reduce exposure to fossil fuel inflation. They decouple electricity procurement from foreign energy hubs. And really, renewables provide insulation against transport disruptions and geopolitical pressures. In short, they provide a certain level of autonomy, of independence for electricity production.
In terms of energy security challenge, do you think renewables can actually fully solve that energy security challenge?
They do not. In fact, I suppose it's fair to say that there really isn't any silver bullet when it comes to the energy security challenge. In the case of renewables, they do offer undeniable security advantages, as we saw, but that's only when the power plants are fully stood up. In their development phase, they are exposed to supply chain risks, right? For example, solar photovoltaics and battery supply chains are heavily concentrated in China. Yet China really dominates those sectors, and in the last few years, the Chinese government has also deployed export restrictions on some raw materials as a tool of geopolitical pressure. For instance, this includes the rare earth that go into magnets, and we know that magnets are a core component of electric generators. This is why the past two US administrations have put policies in place to build up the US solar and battery manufacturing base, including by imposing import restrictions on materials coming from what the US government deems foreign entities of concern.
What trends are we seeing in actual energy used by data centers?
Yeah, data center energy consumption is rising at breakneck speed, as we saw. If we zoom in on hyperscalers specifically, they consumed an estimated 57 terawatt hours of electricity globally in 2020. That is based on a modeled a low utilization rate for data centers. But fast forward to 2025, and that figure had been multiplied by 3 to reach 175 terawatt hours. And looking forward to 2030, hyperscalers around the world are expected to consume more than 430 terawatt hours by the end of the decade. Those are mind-boggling figures, and they truly illustrate the paradigm shift that we discussed at the beginning of our chat. Now, uh, data collected in the 2025 S&P Global Corporate Sustainability Assessment shows that the assessed data centers sourced 67% of their energy from renewable sources in 2025, and that was up sharply from 52% in 2022. But as we've seen, the energy demand trajectory is so steep that increasingly other technologies are relied upon to meet those needs.
So here is my last question for you. Looking forward, what would be the likely energy mix powering AI over the next decade?
Well, I would argue that all the factors we discussed today make for a very fluid picture, or the proverbial moving target, if you will. Uh, in the short to medium term, the all of the above strategy definitely is in play, and this could keep the current energy mix pretty stable. And by the way, natural gas continues to play a significant role in the current energy mix. But the truth is that at the moment, no single solution meets all needs in terms of access, in terms of costs or reliability, or in terms of sustainability. Nuclear does look good on paper, but developing new nuclear capacity takes time. The technology is very complex, and because of that, historically, it has faced two significant bottlenecks: long permitting processes and high capital intensity, which makes financing new nuclear projects a challenge. In the long run, decarbonization of the energy mix via the deployment of renewables remains on the table. And as we've seen, the need for security and contingency planning has bolstered the case for renewables. And from that point of view, the security argument, whether you call it autonomy or independence, really overtakes talks of decarbonization and sustainability. And come to think of it, it's probably an easier sell politically as well. I mean, historically, we've seen that the population can be divided on decarbonization matters. But I think that everyone would agree that keeping our electricity, our modern economy going is critical, and that uh, we should go with the energy mix that ensures that that remains the case. And it turns out that renewables offer a great profile to achieve just that. And as we've seen in the end, well, it doesn't really matter what the arguments for deploying renewables really are. Ultimately, the result is the same from a sustainability point of view.
Thanks, Tony, for your insights. And the takeaway today is clear. AI isn't just a technology story, it is also reshaping global energy systems. And while sustainability remains part of the narrative, energy security and reliability are now just as central to how the future is being built. If you would like to dive deeper into our research and our blog posts, visit spglobal.com and explore our Look Forward Council resources. You can also connect with Tony on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for listening to the Look Forward podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And we'll see you next time.